Welcome into Floor's Yours on the 5 Reasons Sports Network, an extension of 5 on the Floor. Got Greg Sylvander with me. I'm Ethan Skolnick. We should be joined at some point by our third host, Alex Toledo. We're going to keep going here through the off-season. Make sure to check out the latest episodes of 5 on the Floor. We did a long podcast with Norris Cole, two-time NBA champion, of course, with the Miami Heat, but also like 65-time champion around the world. We also put up the video of it. So if you want to see Norris laugh at us, you can do that here on the YouTube channel. So that's up on the YouTube channel, but also, of course, on our podcast feed. We're going to cover one topic today, but a bunch of different ways. This is going to be all about Adebayo, the Heat's, I guess, current and future franchise player. I guess Jimmy Butler. No ceiling. Well, I guess Jimmy Butler's still kind of in the center spot, but we know that this is going to trend towards Bam. Of course, he had a difficult playoff series. He met with the media. I was down there last week. Seems like he's rejuvenated. He's confident. He's likely going to be a starter on the Olympic team. And what we're going to talk about today, and we're going to bring you guys all into it, is what to expect from him in the Olympics, what he can gain from it, what the Heat can gain from it, whether it's in terms of the way that he can be used or the way that he may recruit, which, of course, he addressed. He said, well, if they ask me, I'll tell them. They may ask me. But also, how do you maximize him? Because to me, that's the issue with Bam going forward. We talk a lot about Jimmy's window, but Bam's window is longer than Jimmy's window. And as of right now, Bam Adebayo was signed for a longer period of time. Now, that may change this offseason. So, Greg, let's get to it. I would anticipate that Bam Adebayo is going to be a starter on the U.S. Olympic team. I don't really see a scenario where they're going to start Kevin Love. As you and I, you reported and I confirmed after, the Kevin Love spot could have been the Duncan Robinson spot. They are not counting on Kevin Love to be a major factor here. He's there for experience. Jalen Rose said he was there for tokenism. We can talk about whether that's accurate or not. But essentially, he's not there to be one of their top 8 players. That's not what he's there for. And he's used to not playing. He hasn't played a whole lot in the last couple of years. So, he should be okay with that. And then there's Draymond Green, who has been essentially a center out of convenience for the past few years, basically to close down teams, down the stretch. Not a starting center. They've never started him at center during the regular season. And they had Wiseman this year. They've had other Ezeli, other Bogut, other bigs there. So really, Bam Adebayo is the only true big on this roster expecting to get time. He's going to play a lot, isn't he?
I think so. I think, when I first saw the roster, my first thing was, and I'll shout out to Ben in the comments where he said Draymond starts at the 5 due to seniority. That was initially my thought, because you can play a little smaller in Olympic basketball. But the more that I thought about it, Bam is essentially has the ability to do everything Draymond can do, and he's younger. And then there started, I don't know how much to read into this, but there's a particular photo circulating around of Dame, Beal, Tatum, KD, and Bam. And I just find it to be an interesting mix of players to put in a photograph directly next to each other. So to me, I'm reading the tea leaves. That's the starting lineup.
I would think so. Part of it, of course, is Booker's not there, right?
Yeah.
So, there's a possibility Booker could start over Beal, although I think seniority-wise, older player, etc. Probably Beal would be the starter there. Are they waiting on? Well, they're waiting on Drew Holiday and Middleton right now. But I wouldn't anticipate that either of them would be starters. I think Middleton is kind of your Swiss Army knife. Welcome, Alex. Off the bench. By the way, should have mentioned the 2 sponsors. Didn't do it at the start. Biscayne Bay Brewing, of course. Ask for it by name when you're at a restaurant, convenience store, Publix, Whole Foods. Biscayne Bay Brewing. They've got a bunch of new beers. I haven't tried this one yet. And why haven't they sent it to me? I've tried the Tropical Bay IPA, the Marlins Lager. I'm waiting on the Regatta Double IPA. You can see there's a little bit more alcohol in that one. So if I do that one before the show, a little bit more alcohol, I may say some things about some former newspapers and other things like that I won't want to repeat. Also check out Pastime and all the rest. Of course, bringing the heat. They've got a stand down at the arena. And they're also the official beer of the Marlins. And our friend Mark Brown, markbrownpa.com. It's where you go for estate planning. Also, he's got an in-house title company. Again, Mark Brown, M-A-R-C, brownpa.com. Man, he is quick with the slides. markbrownpa.com. And I'm not drunk today. I just had a party, me and one guy with 5 little girls. So I'm drunk on Capri Sun. 954-566-5678. 954-566-5678. Get your estate planning done from a Heat and Dolphin fan who's committed, as we see there, to excellent service, and he's based right there in North Lauderdale. All right, let's pivot back to what we were talking about there. I would expect that Drew and Middleton are kind of, again, Swiss Army knives off the bench, right? Like Holiday can play either spot, can come in and defend if another guy on one of these European teams gets hot, right? And then Middleton can play at 2 through 4. He can guard, he can score, he can do all those things. So I agree with you. I think the starting lineup is that picture, right? Give it to people again. It's Dame, it's Beal, it's Tatum, it's Durant, it's Bam, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Alex, would you anticipate that that's probably the starting lineup?
Yeah, I think that's probably going to be the one there. I'm just excited that Bam looks like he's going to be the starter. I was hoping that was going to be the case.
I mean, is there any other? That's the thing. I mean, I don't see. That doesn't.
Unless they wanted to start Draymond at the 5,
that's what we opened with. But I just think like Adebayo does everything Draymond does now, but a little bit better.
Agreed.
I mean, it's just a seniority thing if Draymond starts. But I think Durant finishes at the 5. I think in a lot of scenarios, I think Durant finishes at the 5 with Tatum at the 4, and maybe it's Middleton at the 3 potentially, or maybe it's Beal and Booker together.
I mean, they have so many weapons; they could really just go to whoever.
They can play 5 guards. That's
right.
They can go all defense if they want to. If they want to go switchable, they can. Like they really just, and I think that's what's going to be key for Pop is like whatever route you want to go, you got options.
Is this before we get back into Bam as Olympic teams go? It's not as talented as the Dream Team. There's no team in history that will be. It's not as talented as the Redeem Team. I mean, you don't have LeBron, Dwayne, and Kobe, somewhere around their primes, right? Where Dwayne's your 6th man. But I actually think the roster is better than a lot of other recent rosters. I feel like it's better than people are giving it credit for. I mean, you have Durant, who may again be the best player in the world at the moment. You've got Bradley Beal, who's a top 3 scorer in the NBA. You've got Devin Booker, who's made the leap, right? You've got Jason Tatum, who is kind of the next elite wing in the league, 3-4 type player.
You didn't even mention Harden and Dame.
And Harden. Well, I never mentioned Harden. And you've got Dame. I forgot he was on the team. Actually,
he is. He's not.
He's not on the team.
He's in France, almost getting arrested with a little baby.
He's not on the team. He was supposed to be on the team. He's not. He was with the 20 grams of weed, right? Use the CBD instead. Go to therapistpreferred.com. Therapistpreferred.com. Use the code 5 Reasons. That way you don't get arrested with little baby at James Harden.
Le baby.
There you go. So yeah, I mean, who did I not mention? I'm sorry. I didn't mention. Who did I not mention?
Dame.
Dame.
Oh yeah, Dame.
They're stacked. Like that's the beauty of it. Like, and I agree with you. I think that they have pieces that fit in ways that past teams don't. And that I think when you look at the names, maybe like the talent necessarily, like the proven talent at first glance doesn't measure up. But when you see how the pieces fit and the way the game is changing and the way that the NBA is more and more leaning into the international style of play, I think that the team, like from a fit standpoint and the game is going to, there'll be probably, I'm going to go the 4th best Olympic team we've ever had.
I think that's probably, no, it's probably fair. We should look it up. Probably, I'm sure if we ask Ricky will give us an answer in the first
Dream
few minutes.
Team 2, I have an affinity for Alonzo and Steve Smith.
No, that was a good team. That was a good team. Dream Team 1 would have wiped them off the floor, but yes, Dream Team 2 was a good team. But the other thing about it is there's no one on the team that can do what Bam does. I mean, you mentioned Draymond, but he doesn't do anything as well as Bam does at this stage. I mean, except maybe read a play. I mean, because he's been through so many of them. So he is going to start. He is, I think, going to play 20 to 25 minutes. He is going to be leaned upon as almost an equal to probably anybody on the team but Durant, I would think, right? Maybe Dame.
Pop called him his bet. He said he's our best rebounder. So like that to me signaled that he's going to be the starter and like that they're counting on him.
And Miles Plumlee
made me laugh.
Apparently,
that quote made me laugh because it's like, yeah, Bam's our best rebounder. It's like, do you know what you have?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, way more than just a rebounder.
I mean, that's like the last thing that Bam does, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like,
and fans, I've seen fans kind of push back on that and say that if Bam is just going to be used as a big man that's rebounding, like, is it really worth his time to go to the Olympics? And I think that's an interesting question to ask. I think it's really worth it.
I don't think there's any question, and that was going to be where I'm going here. Simply, of all the highlights I've seen, that one highlight of that pocket pass from Bradley Beal to Bam Adebayo convinced me that Bam Adebayo was going to get something out of the Olympics, because, and I think it's going to be hard to go back.
Just the one play?
No, it's the fact that somebody can make a effing pass to him, okay? Like, they're going to force him. He's not going to get as many touches, obviously, as these other guys, okay? He may end up being 6th, 7th on the team in touches. I mean, you're talking about some elite usage guys in the NBA. But the touches he gets are going to be good. There's going to be no option for him other than to dunk it or lay it up or shoot a little floater, because he's going to get the ball in the perfect place, okay? And even though this team does not have, and this is another topic we're going to get into, a pure point, right? Like, yeah. I mean, Dame is not a pure point. No. He's more of a modern point guard. I mean, Chris Paul is the definition. Right. Dame is still more of a point guard. Thank you, Manny, throwing that up. Still more of a point guard than anybody the Heat have, okay? And again, I'm including Goran in that because, I mean, Goran's a bench player now, and also Goran has never been a traditional
Dame is a million times the point guard that the Heat have. Like,
right.
It's not even
for sure.
Despite him being a scoring guard, he's such a good playmaker that Bam playing with these types of playmakers and shot creators and being around them all the time, practicing with them, seeing how they work out, watching them get into their spots. Mm-hmm. I think there's no question that it's going to be good experience for him, even if on the court he's just going to be doing the things that he does best: screening, rolling, defending, and rebounding.
And the other thing about it, I mean, but look, there are some centers that he's going to have to face. There are some big centers that he's going to go against in this tournament. Okay, and so I do think that there may be some criticism of him if he doesn't rebound enough. But even Drew Holiday is a better playmaker than anybody that he'd have at this stage, right? So I mean, I think he is
better than Jimmy.
Okay, that's fair. Well, okay. So let's switch topics here, because watching the playoffs, watching what Chris Paul has done for DeAndre Ayton, has again reinforced my belief that this team needs a true point guard. Okay, like they need a point. And it can't be Jimmy Butler. And it's not because Jimmy's not a capable passer, but because it's a stupid use of Jimmy's talents at this point. Okay? I mean, Jimmy should be a secondary ball handler. He should not be your primary ball handler. And Bam Adebayo should not be one of your two primary ball handlers. And now you're going to play in a more traditional system that Popovich runs. He's going to get the ball from these guards in the perfect position. I don't know how Spoelstra's going to look at that, or Riley's going to look at that and come back to the Heat situation and say, let's just continue to run our offense through Bam Adebayo dribble handoffs where he's not looking at the basket, or Jimmy Butler basically being the only other creator on the team. Like, right? I mean, they can't, right? And that's why I think this is going to be instructive and informative and positive for them.
Big time. I think that you hit something earlier when you said, like, Bam's not going to be able to go back. I think, like we remember how easy the game was for the big three together. And this is, like, amplified by a lot. Not so one, you're getting Bam getting those minutes and kind of seeing what it feels like to play with other real superstars. And not that Jimmy is not one, but just that there's several of them. And then from the point guard standpoint, I just think that it's going to alleviate so much pressure from Bam having to constantly facilitate, and he's great at it, and that's what we've asked him to do. Listen to me, I said we again. Mm-hmm. But ultimately, like, it's a question though, like, do you need a true point guard that like, are you still missing a shot creator? I guess is where I'm going. I feel like like a pull-up threat is missing, and maybe you can get that with one player. You get the point guard and the pull-up threat, but I just feel like that's an element of the game that still may be missing, even if they add a true point guard.
Who's their last true point guard?
LeBron.
I mean,
funny. Wow. Rafer Alston. He was a real point guard, right?
The point guard stuff gets tricky. It's just kind of I think at this point, you put a fake label for like a decade at this point.
Yeah, this is true.
Okay, but let's look at the types of point guards they've had. Okay, they started essentially Kendrick Nunn was their de facto point guard for the past 2 seasons, but doesn't handle more than 15 to 20% of the time in terms of initiating offense, right?
He's not a point guard.
He's an
Okay.
off-ball guard.
Okay, so I mean, again, it's basically been Jimmy. Prior to that, it was Dragic, but we know Goran's never averaged as many as 6 assists in a season, right?
Nope.
Like it's not his. He's a combo guard, okay? Who's basically
Oh, there's the one.
It's Jay Will, right?
That's 100% the
But
one.
I mean, we're going back that far because
That's actually a pretty good parallel, even though obviously like stuff was different back then as far as the way that everything was still clogged inside. It's actually a pretty good parallel because you have your 2 best players being you're a wing and a big, and just kind of, although it's not 100% apples to apples, it's a similar thing. Yeah, you need a shooter there, somebody else who they could trust with the ball in their hands, and he was big for them in that run.
If we had asked Norris if he was a pure point guard during his time with the Heat, what do you think he would say? Because Rio would say he was, but I don't believe Rio was. Rio was an awful.
You think Rio would say that?
I think Rio would say he was, but Rio was more of a Derek Fisher. He did play the role really well. I don't think he ever got enough credit for it. But he was more of a Derek Fisher, Steve Kerr, John Paxson, B.J. Armstrong. I'm playing off elite wings, spotting up in the corner, secondary ball handler after that first
bringing
action
the ball
doesn't
up
work.
And just
bringing
getting
the ball
them
up
in
and handing it to somebody else, right? Like that's
LeBron
Norris,
is the point guard. Like, make no mistake.
But I feel like Norris played more point, maybe traditional than Mario did. Maybe
I think Chalmers did more, especially because he was here those couple of years before LeBron got here.
Yeah,
that's true.
08, you're right. The first 2 years he did, but again, then the ball was handed to Dwayne in all those moments, and Rio
but
got
it was
out
really
of the
them
way
too as their handlers.
Right. So I know. Okay,
it's weird that they've gone away from a traditional, like if we talk about just traditional point guard in the sense of the word, they've gone away from that for a really long time.
Well, I mean, you had Timmy, okay, who was as traditional a point guard as you could get, particularly when he slowed down, because then he wasn't as much. He was basically.
He's also like a hybrid because, and I know I can't really speak on Tim Hardaway, but he was almost like a hybrid of the old point guard, traditional point, but also like a scoring guard who is.
He's their best post-up player.
Timmy in Golden State was a precursor to a lot of the current guards. Like Tim in Golden State Run TMC was a Kyrie Irving type, Dame Lillard type point guard, okay, where he was score first, fill up the rest of the box score.
Was he pulling up like for jumpers a lot?
Yes, Tim was doing whatever the F he wanted in Golden State. Take a look, go back and look at some of the Run TMC box scores with him, Mullen, and Richmond. The three.
You want to talk about spacing with like having Richmond and Mullen there? Like,
it was
pretty good.
I mean, they were. And Don Nelson was basically using like 6'8" guys at center, like Rod Higgins or players like that. Before that became everything that D'Antoni picked up later, which Spo picked up from D'Antoni, it originated with Don Nelson. All the inversion, the small, it all was Don Nelson stuff. It just, that's why when Don Nelson went to New York after Van Gundy and tried to make Pat Ewing a point center, that didn't really work out very well because Patrick wasn't so thrilled about that. Since that was used to, okay, we've got, even Riley's
He's like the anti-Bam.
Yes. Even if you go back to Riley's New York teams, though.
Yeah,
remember,
Derek
Harper, he had old, crafty, early 30s, which we're going to pivot on this now. Derek Harper, Doc Rivers, Greg Anthony, they drafted.
Chris Childs,
Charlie Ward, more traditional kind of, Childs and Ward weren't very good, but like traditional bring up the ball. But Doc and Derek Harper were point guards. That's what they had, point guards, okay? He hasn't really gone to that lately. I just think it would make a world of difference for Bam as we get back to Bam. And to me, that's why, and I know there are others who come around to this on Twitter, Alf, others. To me, the cost with Kyle Lowry and Mike Conley doesn't really matter. I think you're trying to maximize Bam, okay?
Yeah.
Right?
That's so true.
And I just think, and I get the Colin Sexton fascination because he's younger. I get the Lonzo Ball interest. But Lonzo and Colin Sexton, even though Colin Sexton plays the Heat way, and I know that Riley loves ball, they don't have the pedigree in the league to get in Bam's face, okay, which I think is half of the battle here, and say, I'm getting you the ball in a certain spot, shoot the fucking ball, okay? Mm-hmm. Kyle Lowry and Mike Conley, and it's not Conley's personality, it's Kyle's personality. It's not Conley's personality, but they both have the gravitas, the experience. They are point guards, okay?
But haven't we arrived at a place where if it's anyone other than Lowry, the fan base is going to be disappointed? If it's Mike Conley,
do you think they'd be disappointed with Mike Conley? I don't know that they'd be disappointed with him. I think Jimmy might be disappointed.
I think it would be controversial if they gave him 4 years at 35 or 30 mil, something like that.
I mean, I don't know about 30 mil, but what Conley's been making a lot of money for a long time. I feel like
he just had a good season too, so I wouldn't be surprised if he's looking for one more payday.
He did. There are some things I like about Mike Conley more than I like about Kyle Lowry. Okay, I feel like Kyle Lowry might age worse than Mike Conley does, because I just think Mike Conley's in better shape. Okay, so that's
Lowry's already 36.
I'm over here thinking about it as a positive for Lowry, like, oh, he's gonna age and he's gonna be able to still be able to guard multiple guards. Like,
why? Because his ass is big enough to guard 4 guys.
I mean, it's held true. I didn't even mean to do that on purpose. It's held true for a while now. He's right. That's the thing, though. That's really the difference between Kyle and Conley. Like, the biggest distinction between them is Conley cannot guard up, and that's not every player needs to be able to do that, but Lowry definitely can. Like, he can hold his own versus bigger dudes. Like, the ass stuff, it's just true. It's just true.
Yeah.
I got to give credit to the greatest of all talk podcast, Ben Golliver, Andrew Sharp, and they came up with this thing called acreage. And it's like a term to kind of distinguish the bigger, blockier, wider guys, like a PJ Tucker, right? He's like the mascot for this. And I think it's genius, because I think we talk about length and stuff and like how that matters on defense, but just as important is guys like PJ Tucker and Kyle Lowry.
Anthony Mason.
Oh, you could not move Anthony Mason. You could not. When Anthony Mason was engaged defensively, him and Oakley, my God. Like, I mean, again, but this gets back to how they've gotten so far away from traditional Riley principles. Like, Riley principles were your point guard and your center. Your point guard and your center. He got Zoe, and what was the first move he made after he got Zoe that he could? He got a diminished Tim Hardaway, who was playing behind B.J. Armstrong in Golden State. He was third string. He brings in Tim and handed him the damn ball. Okay? I don't know. Would Eric Spoelstra hand a point guard the ball and just tell him to go? I mean, he's never done it. But the thing is, Dragic in the playoffs last year, I guess, right? But I mean, we know
Spo likes to be creative with stuff, and he wouldn't have to be so creative if he had bigger talent. But with a Lowry type guy, I would still see them kind of running – not bam dribble handoff all the time, but similar type offenses where guys are moving around, just because Lowry excels in a motion offense, and that's that the Raptors have been really good with that stuff the past few years. I think they're gonna give him the ball as a point guard, but it's gonna be a balance thing, like we always talking about. It's gonna be less bam dribble handoff and less of Jimmy having to play make. I still believe Jimmy's gonna play make, because Lowry is such a great shooter that it's like you have an extra spacer there, and I can't emphasize that enough. You have a two-way spacer who can play make and defend multiple positions. That's why I just think Lowry it fits the bill in every perspective here.
Well, it fits the bill for both guys. See, that's to me, we're trying to find players who thread the needle for both. Again, I like the Colin Sexton idea, but I don't know that Colin Sexton's going to make Bam better right now.
But why not both though?
Well, I mean, if you could get both, you get both. But my thing is on Sexton is, if you talk to people who watch him play every day, it's a weird one, because his numbers suggest he's efficient. Like, his numbers are very efficient. Like, he's 49%, 39%. Okay, he's good from the line. Like, his numbers are efficient
on volume.
But so he's not a looter and a riot. Like, that's not the profile, his statistical profile. But the people who watch him every day say, yes, he plays hard, but he doesn't play particularly smart. It doesn't seem like his teammates like playing with him. And so I don't know.
I think that might be just Kevin Love, though.
Well, that's the guy who'd be coming with him.
That's the funny part, too.
I mean,
that's
right?
The thing.
I mean,
they can't really afford to do the Love Sexton deal and get Kyle Lowry via sign and trade. I mean, it would take a lot of cap gymnastics.
I just don't think Love is worth all that, man. I really don't. Like, I'm not against Kevin Love as a player, as a fit for the Heat, but like that's the stuff right there. It's like we got to go through gymnastics to make it happen just to get Sexton. Like, I don't know if that's worth it. Even though
Sexton alone, it would probably cost Hero, I would expect.
See, that's cool. But then you add this $30 million contract for somebody who's going to be like a spacing big, and he's still pretty good. I understand, but
And I think the other problem is I have a feeling that Kevin Love's image is going to be rehabilitated during the Olympics because he has looked so miserable now for the past 2 to 3 years, and he's acted out and kind of gotten away with it.
We're going to see so many of those full court passes.
Well, I don't think he's going to play a lot, but I think we're going to get a lot of the good veteran influence on this Olympic team storyline bullshit. Okay. And I think that's
hate Kevin Love so much.
I just hate my year in Cleveland. I associate him and Kyrie with because the only things
we finally got down to the root of it.
No, the only good things about that year in Cleveland were literally LeBron was incredibly warm to me, okay, and whatever, but they protected him. So it's like literally I would be in front of the locker room, like LeBron would call me over to talk to me about stuff, and the PR staff would pull me away, and LeBron would be like, "No, it's fine." Like, that's the way they were in Cleveland, okay?
Wow.
So I would end up spending, like, all this time with JJ and Mike Miller. Like, that's literally, I lived praise. We had Joe Harris, like, the three of them, like, in front of their lockers. And so, yeah, I'm not I maybe talked to Kevin Love 4 times, outside of a locker room setting the entire year. He was moody. He's just not a pleasant person to be around. I don't know if some of it was because trying to fit with LeBron. And Kyrie, my feelings on Kyrie. So that's that. But no, I'm not just saying. I'm saying we're going to get that BS storyline because it doesn't have to be Kevin Love. It could be anybody.
You're right.
And we're going to hear about what a good veteran influence he's been, how he's accepted a lesser role, whatever. And
on
then
a gold medal team.
On a gold medal team, and then it's going to make it feel like the last 3 years didn't happen. And a lot of people are going to talk themselves into this. I do think Kevin Love can still be an effective player in spots. To me, he's not a player you close a game with anymore.
But do you go into the tax for him?
No, well, you're not going to the tax for him. You're going to the tax for Sexton because you're bringing in Love for Sexton. That's the thing, right?
And the thing was, the idea had always been you could get Sexton if you were willing to take on Kevin Love's contract. So it's like almost that was like the the enticement is to, like you get Sexton, but you got to take Love. Sexton by himself being traded, I just don't know, like that the Cavs have incentive to do that deal. He has such a small salary. They would be more apt to attach him to their draft pick and move up. Like that's just
that's a fair point. That's a good point right there.
Kobe's on the spot too. Kobe Altman is on the hot seat there. Okay, like they have to.
Shouldn't be. I don't think he should be.
I don't. Well, but it's Dan Gilbert though.
I know, but like this, whatever. But
remember how Kobe got. And again, Kobe's one of the people I liked in Cleveland. But what I'm saying is like, remember how Kobe got the job. Okay, Kobe got the job because Griff left. Okay, nobody wants to work for Dan Gilbert. Okay, at one point, like Dan Gilbert had gone through like 10 general managers in 12 years. Okay,
and he never wants to re-up on them, right? That was the thing.
He never will re-up. He will not give you an extension. So Kobe, who I got to know because we would hang out at the one nice hotel at the lobby bar, and he would ask me Pat Riley stories. Okay, like down the street at the 9, the Metropolitan, down the street from the arena. Kobe was not someone that I thought. Raja Bell was the guy I thought was going to promote it. Raja was there as Griff's number 2, and Raja didn't want to be in Cleveland after 1 year, and so he left.
He's with the Ringer.
And now he's with the Ringer, and then 2 other guys left, and so Kobe got promoted and just kind of got the job during a rebuilding phase. Okay, but I never thought they would allow Kobe to finish the job. Now at this point, I mean, you have to put all this. The reason I'm bringing this all up is because it does put into context. Sexton is probably Kobe's best decision, right? Like, I mean,
yeah, I mean the verdict's still out on Garland, but I think that he could still be, a really good player.
And Okoro, I think, has a chance to be a pretty good player. But
he's done a good job collecting just younger guys, and I don't know, like what were the expectations, anyways? I feel like they finished last season like in a positive way, where like you feel pretty good if you're a Cavs fan about a lot of those young guys. Now they're gonna get another pick in there.
But that's my point.
It's just
so
stupid.
Why would you trade the one? Like I said, why would you trade a year?
Because of the contract that's coming, and that's what I wanted to ask you guys about too.
But I get it, Alex. But why would you trade it a year early? That's my point. Like unless you're dumping the love money. There's no reason for him to trade Sexton alone. Continue, Alex, but that's my point. That's
what I'm trying to respond to right there. I've been trying to bring that point back up because I understand the Love thing, and that's something that we've seen in the NBA, right, for so many years now. It's like, if you take on this big contract, you might get somebody here who you like. But to me, it's like if you're giving up Tyler, Precious, whatever that type of deal is, let's say forget Love, forget the big contracts. they're getting two guys who they're going to have they're going to be cost controlled guys, whereas Sexton is going to be up for a big deal.
Right.
And we already heard that they don't want to pay these guys. Love is somebody that of course they're going to, I feel like, of course they're going to put that out there. Yeah, take Love, please. But do the Heat have to do it? I don't know. Like, can you put together a pretty good package for Sexton that has Hero, Precious, and maybe KZ? I don't know. Like, why?
But then is that too much?
Take Love.
Yeah.
Well, it's not too much unless KZ blows up at Summer League. I mean, that's the only thing. But you probably make the trade before the Olympics. Although I don't know if that's enough. I will say this: you probably could, for obvious reasons, sell Tyler Hero in Cleveland.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, you probably could, but I don't know how he fits. Like, what's the fit there? He fits with Garland.
He'd be there too.
Yeah, Garland would be the one, and he could play the two, similar to what Sexton's been doing, honestly, but just playing differently.
And Okoro at the 3.
And then the other thing was
they have?
They gave up on Kevin Porter Jr. because of the off the court stuff, or else they would have sort of an embarrassment of riches. That's the other thing. Kobe took a shot on an incredibly talented guy who looks like he's going to pan out now.
Yeah. Okay.
As long as he keeps his head on straight. And they had to give him away for nothing because he blew up, in the locker room. So, I mean, that's unfortunate. It says, aren't they trading Sexton because they're choosing to pay Allen instead? Are they going to max Jarrett Allen?
That's a great point. It could be that. They don't want to spend a lot of money. They're rebuilding. They're not a team that wants to even get anywhere. They want to worry more about the salary floor than the luxury tax. So I think that they would be open-minded to the idea of getting guys that are further out from an extension eligible off seasons. And so that's why I think that there could be something legs to a Hero for Sexton kind of situation, although that hasn't really been anything I've heard directly.
Would any of you have any hesitation about trading Tyler Hero and Precious for Sexton?
Maybe some hesitation. I would probably still go with the deal. I think there should be like some hesitation is fair because you Tyler, like I said, in other shows, he's still ahead of schedule for where you got him at. So, trading him after his second year, it feels a little early, but I still probably do it. I think
I'm going to throw one little bomb here at the end here, aggregators, okay? I am still hearing the most likely place for Tyler Hero and Duncan Robinson to end up is New Orleans. And with that...
Oh, come on. You can't end it like that.
Perfect way to end. It's perfect.
And you guys were sending me Griff's presser. This isn't even based on this, but like you sent me Griff's presser today about the need for shooting, which is something we've discussed. You know who the Heat covet there. There you go. All right. This was all right, Manny, enough. This was a bad. Thank you, Manny. Manny's punch drunk because he's been producing 6 shows. By the way, check out those other shows. Alex Dono's new fight show, sponsored by our new sponsor, Quarterdeck. They go over the McGregor fight, and there we do not need to see Royal ever. And then also Six Rings Canes. They go through the NIL stuff that's been going on with the Canes and everything else along those lines. I mean, yeah, we'll just end there. I mean, if anyone wants to send us money, we'll stick around. Other than that, final thing. Yes, go ahead.
I was just agreeing with the money thing.
Oh, the money thing. If you want to send us money, super chat, we'll stick around a little bit longer. But I will say this. Before we close, I do think, and people took this tweet totally out of context because I didn't frame it very well. I was not saying in the tweet that Bam Adebayo was going to come back and dominate the league like Dwayne Wade did in 2008. But I think people are forgetting. When Dwayne went to the Olympics in 2008, his confidence was down. Okay, people are saying Dwayne never lost confidence. That is not true. I was around him a lot. He did lose confidence. It was coming through the injuries. It was coming off of a 15-67 season. Remember, my belief is stronger than your doubt. Fall down 7, get up 8, all the rest of that stuff. He was trying to prove something to the world. He went out to the Olympics. He was featured as a 6th man. He was the best player on that team, a team that had LeBron and Kobe. All I'm saying, I'm not saying Bam Adebayo is going to come back and be the best player in the league like Dwayne Wade was in 08.
I'm saying that.
He's saying that. But what I'm saying is I do think you're going to come back with a totally different mindset from him. This is not a 3-day All-Star weekend, okay, which I do think Bam got a lot out of because he felt like he belonged. He's going to be playing meaningful games with the best players, some of the best players in the NBA against elite European and African competition.
They're going to see how good he is. Kevin Durant, all those guys. They're going to see how good Bam is.
He's going to see how good he is. It's not about them seeing it. He's going to see how good he is. I do think you're going to see. I think the Olympic thing is exactly what Bam needed after what just happened in the first round. All right, check out our sponsors, markbrownpa.com, Biscayne Bay Brewing, prizepicks.com. Play it with 5. Who do you guys like tonight?
Suns Nation.
I like the Bucks winning the game, and I like all the overs on Giannis on Prize Picks because I think they're going to play him like basically 48 minutes to get the victory.
Or Bud might save him for 2023. But no, I agree.
They added free throws made as a single stat. Today was the first time I saw that. That's pretty cool.
Did they add how many seconds it takes Giannis to shoot, or no? Just how many free throws? By the way, since I went to Prize Picks, use the code 5. By the way, people. Since I went to Prize Picks. Giannis's number went from 25.5 to 26.5 to 27.5 points.
Ooh.
I still went over, but reluctantly.
Yeah.
I still went over.
Watch out. You got Jay Crowder there. By the way, I found out Heat legend Jay Crowder, his actual name is Corey. So there you go.
By the way, really good story. I keep saying by the way, by Zach Lowe about Jay Crowder today. I don't know if everybody got a chance to read it, but
he almost fought Jimmy.
Yeah. And to be honest with you, I agree with Trilly on this. They need more of that and less celebrities next year. All right,
it's a great story, by the way.
But it's a Heat story, and this is why.
For the people who didn't read it, they went back and forth on a one-on-one. I think after practice went, and it supposedly got really intense.
Everybody cleared out. Okay, everybody cleared out in the bubble, and the two of them went at it, and they talked a bunch of trash to each other because Jay and Jimmy have that relationship going back to Marquette. And yeah, they went at it,
and we never heard about it. And they never, ever looked like they were at odds.
Not.
Ever.
No, because that's what this team does. That's part of it. The thing about it is, again, when they're going at each other, it means they like each other. When they're freezing each other out, we'll be back on 5 on the floor. I'm not going to tease anything else.
Ethan has been throwing hint after hint after hint. Just
people can figure that one out. I'm not going to aggregate. Don't aggregate it. All right. Have a good night, everybody. We'll be back on the 5 on the floor on Sunday night. Bye. I'm going to hit the button correctly.